What has been your I told you so moment? I had a friend who always rode on BMX with his headphones in, with the volume so loud he couldn't hear anything. On a few occasions he couldn't hear us shouting things like car or don't go shit like that, and almost hurt us or himself. He crashed into me after I fell, because he couldn't hear people shouting stop, and I flipped out and told him that one of these days he was going to really hurt someone or himself. A week later he rode directly out of a friend's driveway and got blindsided by a car. He was fine, save some cuts and bruises, but his bicycle was destroyed and he broke her windshield. Her lawyer basically proved it was his fault, and he had to pay for the whole thing. I fucking told you, you idiot. My little dog will try to stick her tongue in your mouth. I don't know why she does it, but it is some kind of obsession with her. She's stealthy. She's patient. She's not fucking around. She will look positively adorable and innocent while she waits for the perfect opportunity to tongue punch your uvula. I try to warn people, but they never take me seriously. I took her to the vet for her new puppy checkup, and warned the vet tech this dog was gonna try to kiss him. Me, be careful. She will try to stick her tongue in your mouth. Veterinarian, no, she won't. Don't worry. I know what I'm doing. Me, I'm serious. She will wait until you let your guard down, and then her whole tongue is in your mouth. Veterinarian, look, this is my job and I've been doing this a long time. Phoo. She did it. Me, I told you. Kinda sounds like she's trained you to distract people while she sticks her tongue in their mouth. My ex, we remained good friends, nothing more, started dating someone. After he introduced us, he asked me what I thought of her and I said I had a bad feeling and to be careful. The more I got to know her, the more I told him she's bad news. He laughed it off trying to say I'm just saying that cause I still have feelings for him, I had not. Few years later, he's having to get legal representation. She destroyed his business, his family, stalked and harassed him and even had him under investigation by the FBI. Took him a couple years to clean up the whole mess. I totally said, I told you, idiot. I'm curious about how you sensed the red flags in her. I don't know, I just felt really uncomfortable around her. Ever meet someone and right away you feel a connection and want to get to know that person? With her it was the complete and total opposite. I have another friend that completely trusts my intuition. He would always introduce me to a girl when they started dating, and if I said I didn't like her, he'd drop her. And would later find out something where he was thankful to dodge that bullet. When he met the woman who is now his wife, I literally fell in love with her immediately. She's incredible. I wish I had that same kind of sixth sense with the men I choose to date. LOL. My wife's mother always told her she was being overly dramatic and making it up that her periods hurt. Everybody's periods hurt, stop whining. After we got married I encouraged her to see an actual doctor. She was rapidly diagnosed with endometriosis. Life is so much better for her now that, thanks to actual medication for a professionally diagnosed condition, she just has unpleasant periods instead of curl up in the bed with 3 heating pads whimpering for a week once. Kid in primary school loved to prove everyone wrong. Tried to prove rubbing salt in an open wound doesn't hurt. He screamed. Man, that I told you so must have been like salt in the wound for him. Went over to a friend's house and her dad was sleeping on the couch. She said, oh yeah, he's been sleeping there for like a year, he has a bad back. I was like, my mom has a bad back and she saved up and bought a new mattress rather than sleep apart from my dad. Your dad's been kicked out of the bedroom. She didn't believe me. 2 months later it comes out her dad was cheating on her mom. The only person surprised about it was she, my friend. I mean, that's really upsetting stuff. It was definitely a bit of protective denial with your female friend. I saw some suspicious stuff when I was a kid that my dad explained away with some really flimsy stories, and I genuinely just rolled with it because the alibi was so comforting and didn't turn my life upside down. Looking back after the truth came out that he was cheating, I was definitely dumb to believe anything else. Ha! I may have just had a realization. It might be okay. My dad has been sleeping on the couch for about 30 years now, but it's because he snores like a fucking freight train and he refuses to acknowledge that it might be a problem worth looking into. My parents sleep in different rooms because they both snore like freight trains and wake each other up if they're in the same room. I was 8 months pregnant, and I started having contractions. I went to the gyne and told them something was wrong, and they needed to get the baby out. They tested me for hours and was going to discharge me. I refused to leave and told them something was wrong. The doctor agreed to one last test and found the baby's heartbeat was getting weaker, and they wheeled me into the OR 10 minutes later. My daughter was born with no heartbeat and had CPR done for 2.5 minutes before she was resuscitated. I looked at that doctor and said, "I told you something was wrong." The pediatrician said if I had waited even another half hour we would have lost her. She's 8 years old now and perfectly healthy. Damn. I went to the hospital twice saying my water broke, and both times the asshole doctor said I was just peeing myself. She was born 59 hours after it broke, had pooped in there, and wasn't breathing. I told you I wasn't peeing myself. They were able to suction out her lungs and get her going. The doctor who saved her said she took a year off his life. She's 12 now and totally fine too. When it was confirmed that I had epilepsy and I wasn't faking it like my mom thought. To be honest, I'm still pissed. Billy, why aren't you enjoying the rave? I paid a lot of money for these tickets. Now you need to stop writhing around on the floor or we're going home. I used to work at Starbucks. A customer came in and ordered a drink, I forget which, without ice. I warned them that the drink would only be as cold as the ingredients were from the fridge, and that the drink would be room temp within a few minutes. They said that was fine. I make the drink, hand it off, and what does the customer come back to the counter 5 minutes later and say? My drink isn't cold. I told you so, Sandra. You really shouldn't eat egg salad from the gas station. But I like egg salad. You can't mess up egg salad. Okay, but somewhere between 6 and 12 hours later you're going to regret it. He regretted it. You're not going to enjoy this story, but whatever. So this one time I was in my engineering class, and my friend was superior to all the other students in the class. We were working on a project when he says this screw won't fit. I'm going to the sander, so I said to him, it's going to get smacked straight out of your hand, but it was okay, he got this, he's the expert after all. So I go over with him to watch. The sander is on now and he's slowly approaching it with this tiny screw. Suddenly contact is made and tears a bunch of sparks. Well, what do you know? He sanded this screw and it worked. This isn't a good story, I told you so. My aunt gave me pet frogs when I was 13. I didn't ask for them and had no real clue about their care aside from the paper from the pet store, which I know can be sketchy. So I did my own research, starting with how to determine their sex. I found out pretty quickly that one of them was female, and my parents refused to believe me no matter what I did because the pet store said. Summertime rolled around, mating season, and I woke up to them laying eggs all through the water. The biggest I told you so of my childhood. I was completely enraged that they'd dismissed me completely despite having done none of their own research. They laid eggs every summer until they died, and I considered my dad having to clean it karma. I got hit in the face with a softball when I was 8. I told my mother that it really hurt, and that I thought it was broken. But since I wasn't crying enough, she thought that it must be okay and ice would be sufficient. 8 years later I was at the doctor's office with my mother, new doctor, and he asked when I had broken my nose. My mother was horrified. When I was about 6 years old, my mom brought home a movie when she got back from work. When she put the DVD in, it started playing about halfway through the movie. Upon trying and failing to rewind it, we were at a dilemma. Why was it starting halfway through? I suggested taking the DVD out and flipping it over. My mom told me what a ridiculous idea that was and how it wouldn't work. I insisted, but she just kept rejecting my idea. As our family proceeded to not find a solution, I was all the while crying my eyes out telling them to try my idea. I kept insisting, and insisting, but they proceeded to ignore me. After quite literally a half an hour, my mom finally flips over the DVD and puts it back in. Sure enough, the menu screen of the movie comes up. I told you so. My 43-year-old recently divorced daughter absolutely hates getting advice from any man, especially me, her father. I hadn't invited her to go out to lunch, so she picked me up at my apartment. I no longer drive, and on the way to the restaurant we stopped to get gas. She quickly gassed up and jumped back into her car. That is when I advised her that she should make it a habit to check the fluid levels: oil, water, brake fluid, transmission fluid, wiper fluid, each time she gets gas, and also the tire pressure, maybe once a month. Wow. She lit into me big time about being so old-fashioned because no one checked those things anymore. She called me about 3 weeks later to tell me that her car was in the shop. I asked her why, and she said the transmission failed and that it was going to cost her a fortune to get it repaired. Further inquiry produced the fact that the reason the transmission failed was because it had been out of transmission fluid for a while and eventually burned the transmission out. And I told you so moment, if there ever was one. What has been your I told you so moment? Leave a comment, and subscribe to this channel if you wanna see more same videos.